Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to simplify exponential expression using the product rule for exponents. Please remember that the product rule states that if we have b raised to the power m times b raised to the power k, we can simplify this expression right here as b raised to the power m plus k, which means that we take their common base, which is the b, and then we are going to add their exponents. That's how we got m plus k. Now, please remember that this works only if both bases of the ones that we multiply are the same. Now, let's take this first example right here. So we are given x to the 5th power times x to the 7th power. We are going to simplify this given expression that we have here using two methods. And then there are steps that we need to follow in order that we can simplify this using the first method. The first step is to write out or expand each term. So this x to the 5th means that there are 5 x's. So I'm just going to go ahead and write 5 x's here. So that represents the first term. So I got 5 x's, and then this x to the 7th represent 7 x's. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're ready to move on to the second step. The second step is to multiply the coefficient. Now remember that if there's no coefficient, that is actually invisible 1. And so this one is an invisible 1. There's an invisible 1 right here. So when we multiply the 1, which is invisible, and the 1 here, that gives us 1, and we don't have to write the 1. And then we're ready to move on to the third step. The third step states that we're supposed to count or add like variables. So like variables means letters that are the same. So in this case right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This means that our simplified version for this would be x to the 12th power. Now remember, there was a coefficient of 1, but we don't need to write the 1 in there. So this is our first method. Now let's have the second method. So we are given x to the 5th times x to the 7th. The first step is to multiply the coefficient. So there's an invisible 1 and invisible 1. So I can just go ahead and write 1 in there. Now we're ready to move on to the second step. The second step is to copy the common bases and add the exponents of the common base. So the common base that we have here is x. Now please remember that it doesn't have to be x. It can be any letter in the alphabet. So then we can go ahead and write the common base is x. And then again, we are supposed to add their exponents. So that would be 5 plus 7. So 1 becomes invisible. So this comes out to be x to the power 5 plus 7 is 12. As you can see, both methods give the same answer, which is x to the 12th power. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. So again, we are supposed to show two methods for this problem that we have right here. And so we simplify this using the first method. The first step in the first method is to write out or expand each term. So this 3 will be written as 3. So it's just 3 right there. And then this x to the 4th means that there are 4 x's. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to multiply that by 5. So we write out the 5. And then there are 2 x's. That's what we mean by x to the 2nd power. Now we're ready to move on to the second step. The second step is to multiply the coefficients. So the coefficients that we have here are 3 and 5. And we are going to multiply this. So I'm just going to label that right here. Again, we're supposed to multiply. And so 3 times 5 is 15. So I go ahead and write 15. And so we're ready to move on to the third step. The third step is to count or add like variables. Like variables means those are of the same letters. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 x's, and we can write it as x to the 6th power. So this is the simplified version of this expression that we have here using method 1. Now let's move on to method 2 here. So we're gonna write it out. The first step is to multiply the coefficients. So we are going to multiply the 3 and the 5. So I'm just going to go ahead and label this as multiply, so we know what operation to use. So 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm just going to go ahead and write 15. And then the second step is to copy the common bases and add the exponents of the common base. So the common base that we have here is x. So I'm going to write x, and then we're going to add their exponents. So the exponents are 4 and 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and show 4 plus 2, because again, we're supposed to add their exponents. So this would come out 15 x raised to the power 4 plus 2 is 6. So then we can go ahead and say that the simplified version of this expression that we have here is 15x to the 6th power. Now notice that both methods give the same answer. So which means that it doesn't matter which method to use, you still get the same answer. Now let's move on to the next example right here. Again, we are going to show this problem using two methods here. Okay, so for the first method, the first step is to write out or expand each term. So what we do is we're going to write it out. So that first we get a 4, and then this x to the third means that there are 3 x's. And then we also have y, we have 1 y. This y here means that it's just, there's an invisible one, that is just 1 y right there. And so the other one right here would be 2. So we get a 2. And then this x to the 5th power means that there are 5 x's. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then y to the 6th means there are 6 y's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now the second step is to multiply the coefficients. So the coefficients are the numbers in front of each variable. So that's the 4 and the 2. So again, we are supposed to multiply these two. So 4 times 2 gives 8. So I'm just going to go ahead and write 8 there. And so we're now ready to move on to the third step. The third step is to count or add like variables. So we're going to count all the x's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 x's. So I will write that as x to the 8th. And then we have to count the y's as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 y's. So I'm just going to go ahead and write y to the 7th power. And this is the simplified version of this expression that we have right there using the first method. Now let's have the second method. So I'm just going to go ahead and write it out here. Okay, the first step is to multiply the coefficients. So the coefficients are 4 and 2. So I will have to multiply these two. So I'm just going to go ahead and label that. We're supposed to, again, multiply it. 4 times 2 is 8. And then the second step is to copy the common bases and add the exponents of the common base. So the first common base for these two is x. So I'm just going to go ahead and write x. And then again, we're supposed to add their exponents. So that would be 3 plus 5. So I'm just going to show that up here. So 3 plus 5. And then the other common base would be y. So I'm just going to write y there. Again, we remember that there is an invisible 1 right there if it's not written. So that's invisible 1 right there. So I can go ahead and say 1 plus the other exponent is 6. So then we can go ahead and simplify this as 8. And that would be x to the 3 plus 5 is 8, and then that is y to the 1 plus 6 is 7. So this is the simplified version of this expression that we have up there. Now notice that both methods give the same answer, which means that you can use any method. It doesn't matter, the answer would still be the same. Did you get the same answers to both of these problems right here? Good, perfect. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!